Hey guys, this is Valerie Bevilacqua, and this is my presentation on my community. I grew up in Media, PA, where I currently live. I moved away for college and then lived in the city for a minute, and now I'm back. So I've been here for about 30 years, maybe just less than that. So demographics from 2016, this is the most recent information I could find. And all of this came from FactFinder. Most of the other websites had numbers that were just like barely off. So the population, it's a relatively small town, only 5,345 people, predominantly Caucasian. There's 85.4% Caucasian, 11.7% are African American, and then there's 1.9% that are classified as having two or more races. 42.6% of the population are males, and then 57.4% are females. And then I included this graph over here, just identifying 85% of the population are over 18, and then 15% obviously is under 18. And then of that 85%, there's 20% is 62 and over, and only 5% of the population is under 5. I didn't include those numbers, obviously. Okay. All right. And so some institutions that I thought were interesting, were important to mention. The hospital that has 10,000 employees, 2,000 physicians. I mean, it's a decent sized hospital. I'm not really sure how it compares to other hospitals. There's several schools in the area. One that's right in the middle of town is Media Elementary School, and I just included this fact because I thought it was interesting. The school originally was started in 1859 when it was accommodated for 300 students, and then the current building was rebuilt. I'm not sure what year, I think in the early 1900s. And then there's a Sterling Healthcare Rehabilitation Center, which is like for post-hospital recovery, mostly for elderly people. It's like right across from where I live. There's also, I didn't include on here, there's also like right across from that, there's a place called Focus. It's a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center, I believe. And then down the street, like 2 blocks, there's the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas that covers 12 departments, which can include juvenile detention center, domestic relations, and then adult probation and parole. I'm an adoption coordinator, and we do some adoptions at the courthouse as well. So they do a lot of different things there. And then, some other places in Media, obviously, that are helpful. There's also the Media train station that goes right to Philly, is right here as well. And then there's, Acme and grocery stores and like Target and stuff up the street. And like, so there's a lot of like local things to get what you need. Okay. All right. And then I just included some photos of a couple of the institutions that I pointed out. So this one up here is Media Elementary School. I'm not sure how many students it fits at the moment now. On the website they only listed from 1859, and I just thought that was interesting to include. And then these pictures down here are of the Delaware County Courthouse. Okay, and so this is the map of Media. Some of my favorite spots are included on here. Trader Joe's, that's where I go almost every day for my food shopping. This is where I live, and then I think that's a pizza shop that I go to. So it's a relatively small town. I don't know if anybody is local and Media. Okay, and then I also included this map from a little bit of a distance. You could kind of see some other surrounding neighborhoods. So right over here, this little triangle is Media. And then you can see like here's Elwyn, Lima, Chester Heights, Chadds Ford over here, Garnet Valley, so just some other surrounding areas. Okay. And then lastly, the assessment. So I just included some factors that were addressed in the article Seeking the Good Community. The first thing that they recognize, obviously, is having a safe community. I think, obviously, that's extremely important, and that's what everybody wants in a good community. And I would say media is very safe. As long as I've been alive, I've never heard of any acts of violence or anything happening. The worst is car break-ins. I remember when I was a kid, somebody broke into my dad's truck, which he had left unlocked. Not that that makes it okay, but so not like windows smashed or anything, or not that I can remember. But no shootings or anything. So it's a very safe neighborhood. They also point out in the article that there should be access to goods and services, and anything you could possibly need is accessible. There's, grocery stores, furniture stores, mental health treatment, rehabilitation centers, the train station if you're going to Philly or New York. I oftentimes take the train right to the city and then the bus to New York, so that's super easy. So there's definitely good access to everything. They also point out having strong relationships, which I think was interesting. I guess I understand that and it makes sense, but it's kind of hard for me to assess other people's relationships, because just based on observation, I would say most people in media do have good relationships. It's a cute town to walk through. There's some shops, coffee shops. There's sidewalks, so you can walk around when it's nicer weather and all. So I would vote it as a place that people would have good relationships. They also point out in the article that having good relationships kind of is identified by being in close proximity to people. So there's a lot of houses around here, a lot of everybody's pretty close to each other. It's not like huge yards and you're not really communicating with one another. So in my experience, I would say there are good relationships. And then they also say values and goals, which they kind of identify by being religious and having the same religious beliefs. There are a few local churches in here as well. I didn't mention that in institutions, but there are a few churches. I grew up going to a church just like a block away from where I'm living right now. So I think I'd say, again, a lot of people, I think there's a lot of Catholic churches, some Baptist churches, I think. So I would say, again, I think it's kind of hard for me to say what other people's values and goals are, but based on experiences and like observations and things, I would say that maybe most people have similar values and goals. And then predictability, they identified as kind of having a familiar daily life, day-to-day predictability, which I would say most people in media have. You kind of, you know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, waking up, going to work or going to school or whatever. And so that kind of goes into the next thing, the next area, which is having a recognized place in social structure. And I thought it was interesting in the article, they point out how some lonely people don't really have a recognized place in society, I guess. Maybe that's because if they don't have a job and or if they're kind of isolated, then maybe they don't really feel like where they are society. And there are, again, I think it's kind of hard for me to assess where other people are. There are quite a few I've noticed, like in the apartment buildings and stuff, older people that live alone. So, but I think for the most part, people know where they are in society. They have a job and they take care of themselves, and they know what they're doing. And then the last topic, the last thing that I included was, excuse me, let's just go back a second. We're having different opportunities. So there's different opportunities and places to go and things to do. As far as schools or entertainment, there's like movies, a little bit of shopping, not too much, but there's, opportunities to go, take the train wherever, or get whatever services or whatever. So I would say, yes, media is definitely a good community. All right, thanks, guys.